All right, two big state election results that have come in, decisive mandates in both Haryana as well as in Jammu and Kashmir. But the result in Jammu and Kashmir will have far-reaching implications, not just here in India, but across the world as well. And the man who has led the charge for the National Conference, returning to power after a gap of 10 years, is the chief of the party and former Chief Minister, Mr. Omar Abdullah, likely the next Chief Minister as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Omar Abdullah, for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. First things first, many congratulations. The National Conference has won 42 seats out of the 52 that you have contested. Is this result far better than what you expected for the National Conference, particularly because you'd been out of power for the last 10 years?
Well, they definitely exceeded our expectations. I think our expectations were somewhat tempered by the setback that I faced personally in the recent Lok Sabha elections in the Baramulla constituency. So when we extrapolated those results, even though we were the single largest party, we came somewhere, I think, 34, 35 assembly segments, which is what we had pegged our expectations at. Thankfully, the electorate was far more generous than that, and I'm deeply humbled by the verdict and the mandate that they have delivered.
It's been very generous to your party, no doubt about it. Like I said, 42 seats you have returned with. But do you think the electorate was less generous to your alliance partner, the Congress, which could have performed maybe a little better? I think they've won only one seat in Jammu.
So I'm not going to start a coalition government on a bitter note. I'm sure the Congress is looking at these elections and trying to figure out what worked and what didn't, as much with regard to Jammu and Kashmir as with regard to Haryana. Congress wasn't the only one to get the mixed signals. Every pollster got it wrong. Every person who visited Haryana got it wrong. So it would be unfair to blame the Congress. But I'm sure every political party takes stock. We have to. Even though we won as many seats as we have and had a 75% strike rate, there are still seats that we lost and seats that I'm deeply disappointed at having lost. And we'll have to look into the reasons for those.
Now, you will be running the first state government, as it were, since the last election that happened more than 10 years ago. A lot has changed in Jammu and Kashmir in the last 5 years. How easy or difficult would it be to run a state government, A, in coalition, and B, a central government which, of course, has a very different view on how Jammu and Kashmir should be run? How easy or difficult would it be to run such a setup, such an establishment?
No government is easy to run. I ran a government for 6 years in coalition with the Congress, even as a state, and I'd be the last person to tell you it was an easy government to run. So this incoming government is not going to be an easy government to run. It will have its own unique challenges. The most unique challenge is that it's the first time we'll be operating as a union territory with an empowered Raj Bhavan. So we'll have to navigate some tricky waters, and it will be a learning experience as we go along.
One of the things you sort of said actively in the campaign was also that this is in a sense a vote against the abrogation of Article 370. After the results that you saw yesterday, where the National Conference in particular has swept through the valley, the BJP, of course, has done very well in Jammu. What is your reading of what this means in the context of abrogation of 370? Because this was a big campaign issue. Your party had made this a big campaign issue as well.
Well, people have rejected the politics of the BJP by an overwhelming majority. Otherwise, the BJP would have been in office right now. The fact is that people have rejected the changes that were made on the 5th of August 2019, and they have rejected how they were governed subsequent to that. They have rejected everything that has not been to their liking in these last 5 years, and that was their right.
But at the same time, Mr. Abdullah, and I guess you'll appreciate this, you will also have to reach out to the centre, work along with the centre. How easy or difficult would it be to maintain a cordial and conducive relationship with, whether it's the Prime Minister or the Home Minister or leaders in the central government? Because ultimately, you can't run, especially like you said earlier, this is a state assembly of a union territory. It's not quite the way you've run previous governments. So how important would it be to forge a strong relationship with the central leaders?
Look, anyway, any government in Jammu and Kashmir should have a healthy working relationship with the government of India. And I don't want anybody to confuse what I'm saying. I'm not for a moment suggesting that the National Conference has to establish a good relationship with the BJP. That's not happening. The National Conference is no more going to be a friend of the BJP's than the BJP is going to be of the National Conference. I'm drawing a distinction between political parties and governments. I'm saying that the government of Jammu and Kashmir will have to have a reasonable and decent relationship with the government of India, as any federal structure demands. I don't think the people of Jammu and Kashmir will benefit from an antagonistic relationship. I don't think they'll benefit from a relationship filled with tension. There's enough tension in Jammu and Kashmir on our borders. We don't need to import that tension into governance. That said, it takes two hands to clap, and therefore there's only so much the state government can do. There will have to be some reciprocity from Raj Bhavan and from the government of India, but I hope that reciprocity will be available.
So where do you see the state headed over the next 5 years? You had talked about restoration of statehood. I'll come to that in 1 second. But as a state, after having the people's mandate, the first one in the last 10 years, and you've got a resounding victory, do you still see potential hurdles in your way? One of which you referred to about, striking a smooth relationship with the center is one of them. But what else do you see for the future in the next 5 years?
Look, I think we need to draw the distinction between Delhi and Jammu and Kashmir. Delhi was never promised a state. Delhi has never been a state. Delhi is always that hybrid model where it's a state but not a state. We were a state. We have always been told that union territory is very much a temporary phenomenon. And nowhere did the Honorable Prime Minister or Honorable Home Minister or anybody else suggest that Jammu and Kashmir's statehood was dependent on the BJP being a part of the government or the BJP heading the government. These honorable gentlemen always said that statehood will be restored to Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, the BJP always said that it's a three-step process: delimitation, elections, statehood. This was the sort of sequence. We've had 2 out of 3. We've had delimitation, we've had elections. Statehood is the next logical step.
So statehood is the next logical step, and as you said, the Prime Minister, the Home Minister had promised that during the campaign as well. But what about 370? Because you had made that an issue, the return of Article 370. I think you had said in one of the campaign rallies as well that it took the BJP 40 years to get rid of 370. So you're not naive to imagine that you can suddenly restore 370 just because there is a new government in the state. In Jammu and Kashmir. What will it take? Do you reckon 370 can be brought back if, let's say, for example, there were to be a new parliament or a new government at the center? Only then will 370 can be restored?
I'd like to believe so. That said, this government is not changing for the next 4.5 years. So for us, it's part of our political ideology. It's an issue that we plan to keep alive. But it's also not an issue on which we plan to hoodwink people. As the National Conference President said, it's a long struggle. It may take 100 years, but it's not a struggle we're going to give up.
Do you see statehood, and you had mentioned this in the earlier answer as well, you said delimitation, assembly elections, and then statehood. Do you see that being restored forthwith? And what is the new state government's plan to try and sort of expedite, if you will, that process of restoration of statehood?
Will the BJP live up to the promise? I hope so. As I said, I believe the Prime Minister is an honorable man. He has, in more than one speech, more than one interview, talked about full statehood for Jammu and Kashmir. So is the case with the Honorable Home Minister. And I believe the people of Jammu and Kashmir should be rewarded for their faith in Indian democracy. In spite of everything that has happened to Jammu and Kashmir in the last 8-10 years, the people of Jammu and Kashmir overwhelmingly endorsed Indian democratic norms. They deserve to have that recognized. They deserve to have that rewarded. And at the moment, the best way to reward that would be to give them what they want, and that is the restoration of their statehood. Because at least that's one issue where we're not divided on regional lines, we're not divided on religious lines, we're not divided on political lines. There is no political party that has said Jammu and Kashmir should not be a state.
But talking about those regional and religious divisions, clearly this is a verdict that's almost like mirroring two states. You know, in Kashmir, your party has done exceptionally well. You have won a majority of the seats. In Jammu, the BJP has done exceptionally well. They've won a majority of the seats. And the concern again and again is this, Mr. Omar Abdullah, that, you know, Hindu Jammu has voted for BJP and Muslim Kashmir has voted for a national conference. That in itself is a friction. What would you say to the people of Jammu who are worried perhaps that, you know, unki sunwai nahi hogi, that their representation won't be heard because the government will be more representative of Kashmir and Kashmir Valley aspirations and interests?
I want them to believe and to realize, and not only realize but to experience that this is not a government of the voters of the National Conference, or this is not a government of the voters of the coalition. This is not even a government of voters. It is a government for the people of Jammu and Kashmir, independent of who you voted for or whether you voted at all. And therefore, this government will be as much a government for the people who voted for the BJP as for those who didn't. And that is only right. No government should punish a people just because they didn't vote for the ruling party. I mean, that's not how democracy works. We win. We win on party lines, but we govern for everybody. And therefore, it would be my endeavor to ensure that whichever leader is elected, whoever heads this government, through their actions, proves that this government is of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. And I'm sure that's what we'll do.
All right. One final question, Mr. Omar Abdullah. You've been Chief Minister before. You're going to be Chief Minister again. How have you changed in the last 10 years from being ex-Chief Minister to being Chief Minister again now, Chief Minister-elect?
But so much has changed. So much has changed. The last time I was Chief Minister, I was also Chief Minister of Ladakh. I had ministerial colleagues from Kargil and Leh. Today I don't. Today the people of Ladakh are foot marching to Delhi to get their rights because nobody hears them. They go unheard in the current system. I was Chief Minister of a state. Today the government that comes will be the government of a union territory. I was also Chief Minister of the most empowered state in the country. That is clearly not the case. And I'm also the last Chief Minister in this country to have ever had a 6-year term and completed that term. The next Chief Minister will have a 5-year term. So in so many ways things have changed.
All right, Omar Abdullah, once again many congratulations for what is a resounding victory in Jammu and Kashmir, and wish you good luck for your next term as Chief Minister, albeit, as you said, in very, very different circumstances. We'll take a quick break, but news and updates continue right on the other side.